Alright, today the movie is Angels in the Outfield, released on July 15th, 1994. Welcome to Brandon at Random Reviews, covering one unsystematically chosen movie at a time. This is actually a remake of the 1951 film of the same name, directed by William Deere. The cast we have Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Roger Bowman, Danny Glover as George Knox, Tony Danza as Mel Clark, Christopher Lloyd as Al the Boss Angel, Matthew McConaughey in an early post-Dazed and Confused role as Ben Williams, and a very early Adrian Brody as Danny Hemmerling. For the plot synopsis, a desperate boy's recently widowed father abandons him and suggests the only way they'll ever be a family again is if the California Angels baseball team wins a pennant. So he prays to his god to turn the pro baseball team around instead of pointing out that this whole thing is pretty fucked up. Alright guys, let's just dive right into this motherfucking movie. This movie kicks off with Jogo's character Roger and his friend JP riding bikes and delivering exposition about how Roger's mom died and went to heaven, and he comes home to his dad, who is literally signing guardianship release papers and abandoning him in what I guess is a foster home. We get a glimpse of what an awful culture the California Angels have in the locker room after a loss, and their manager, George Knox, is at wit's end and is considering resorting to desperate measures to turn the team around. As young Roger's despair sets in, he turns to the heavens, and when he and JP are attending the next game, Roger starts to see some strange things on the field that only he can see, like divine beings intervening and creating major game-changing plays, and after this unexpected victory, he has a chance to meet George and try and convince him about what happened. But for some reason, this uptight jerk just doesn't want to believe it, but he's willing to entertain any ideas that might help improve the team's performance, so he arranges for Roger and JP to attend games together. This is honestly what you would expect from a family Disney sports movie in the mid-90s. The humor is pretty stupid and silly, but not as cringeworthy as you might expect. There are a lot of wild visuals where the effects are honestly not bad given the limitations of the era, and it's like, honestly, this isn't a fucking Avengers movie, so like calm the fuck down and just immerse yourself in the excitement. There are a lot of familiar faces here, and honestly, I have to commend young Jogo's performance, as well as Danny Glover, who plays this role as straight as it calls for. Plus, I feel like Christopher Lloyd was having like the best fucking time of his life shooting this movie. I do find it funny, this little friend JP is played by Milton Davis Jr., and he's not like immensely talented as a child actor, so they basically make it a thing that this kid is afraid of strangers, so he doesn't have to talk too much, or at least that's my theory. But I'm a little disappointed that this kid wasn't really in much else. I was really hoping he grew up to be like Lamorne Morris or something. Some of the other familiar faces here include McConaughey and Brody, as I mentioned, of course, but we also get Brenda Fricker, who was the pigeon lady in Home Alone 2, as Maggie the foster mom. Dermot Mulroney plays Roger's dad. No, wait, that's a picture of Dylan McDermott. That's better. Oh, and Neil McDonough plays one of the pitchers. He's been in stuff. That's fun. The message of this movie is universal for those of us who are grieving the early loss of their mother and being abandoned by their father, who makes some off-the-cuff baseball reference intended to insinuate that he's leaving forever. The sentiment gets taken way too literally, and God actually has to intervene. Like, come on, guys. We've all been there at some point. Alright, on to ratings. IMDb 6.2, Letterboxd 3.0, Rotten Tomato critic score 31%, Rotten Tomato audience score 49%. Personal rating 3.5 out of 5 stars. This is honestly an innocent, enjoyable enough movie, and I seem to remember enjoying it a lot as a young sports fan in the 90s. I don't have kids, but I think this is a fun family flick to watch if you've already watched The Sandlot a bunch and need a change of pace. This movie was always unavailable on streaming, and knowing this, I got it cheap on DVD at a garage sale a while back. Then of course they recently added it to Disney Plus for the 30th anniversary, so that's pretty neat and doesn't feel like I threw $3 down the drain at all. Alright everyone, thank you for stopping by. I do appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day. Bye now.